let's talk Deion Sanders and let's talk the uncomfortable thing in the room. First of all, I want to thank you guys for making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow so you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage. Deion Sanders, when he spoke to the media after the game, I think he's sort of like confused, right? Because I think there's moments where the players are in the right position to not making the plays. I think there's moments where the coaches have come to fault, and it's like the game management was terrible again at the end of the game. I do think Colorado probably should have had a better shot at winning that game, or at least getting in position to tie the game up, but obviously that didn't work out. Here's the thing. When I hear this quote, sometimes it felt like the moment was just too big for some of our athletes. We have to be better as a staff, as a team, and I have to do better. We had the opportunities, we just didn't make it happen. When I hear this sentence, sometimes it felt like moments was just too big for our athletes. It's like, oh boy, like what does that mean? That comes down to preparation, right? I think you could say that they're in the right position, and they probably were. But if you find yourself scared of the moment, right? If you find yourself being like, hey, I don't want to be the guy like to make the big play. Like I want to be the guy who helps make the big plays along the way, but not the guy. You have a problem. Like I think right now Colorado has a lack of an alpha problem. And I think Jordan Seaton and Tafik Bayard are probably the two biggest alphas on this team, but they need someone to step up like even more, right? When Deion Sanders says this moment's too big, that's something that you hear from a team that's like, yeah, we're just happy to be here. Like we contended with a top 25 team and we did our best. And it's like, moment was just too big for us. Like the moment being too big is lack of preparation, lack of confidence, lack of swagger, and lack of alpha dogs, right? They had those leader and dog patches on some guys, and I'm not quite sure if we're seeing that, right? I think the moment being too big for Colorado is an excuse for these players not really being ready. Like, how are you not ready for a top 25 matchup? You had BYU on the ropes, right? BYU fans can blab all they want. Colorado should have won that game, right? If you look at the the net success rate that Parker Fleming puts out each week, it's basically, did we really get he titles it, did we really get beat that bad? And it ranges from like, yes, you got absolutely killed, to like, no, you probably should have won that game. Like Colorado, their net success rate indicates they should have won that game. That being said, and for those that aren't really familiar with the net success rate, it strips out noise and presents a view of how two teams compared in the down-to-down business of moving the football. Games are won and lost with explosives, special teams, turnovers, and looking at net success rate just shows us how close the margins were. So it shows how close of a game it was based on all that data, right? Colorado had that game won. The problem is they aren't able, like I said earlier, they don't have that killer instinct. And when you don't have that killer instinct, you don't know how to put teams away, and you allow teams to come back, right? It happened against Georgia Tech. It happened against BYU. It keeps happening. You cannot allow teams to stay in the game. You cannot allow your players to sort of be scared of the moment, right? You came to Colorado for the moment, right? That was all these guys that transferred in from, whether it be Sincere Brown at Campbell, and I'm not singling them out, I'm just guys that transferred in, right? Andre Roy from Maryland, Larry Johnson from Tennessee, I mean, to a lesser degree, but he wanted to be a part of the big moment and wanted to be the guy, right? You wanted Martavius French, Tion Parks, who, I mean, he gave up, I think it was 8 catches last game, right? All these guys came to Colorado for this moment, to be on ESPN every week, to be on nationally televised game every week, to play against some of the best teams in the country, to contend, to have a chance to contend. I wouldn't say Colorado's contending for anything. You wanted this. Now you have to hold up your end of the bargain. I don't think Colorado's doing that, right? I don't think Colorado is ready for these big games, and which sucks because you're playing TCU this week, which is where it all started for Deion Sanders and the Coach Prime experience at Colorado, right? They go into TCU and they beat them. They did this last year or 2 years ago now, and they're hoping to do it again. It's a really good TCU team. Let me see if they're ranked. So I know top 25 just dropped, and I don't even remember where TCU is or was. They just fell out of the rankings, but they're a top 25 caliber team. They're favored by 14.5. You're on the road. You're needing a statement. Your bowl game opportunities are going to be dwindling, right? Because right now you're sitting at 3-3 or 2-3. You can only realistically lose 3 out of your next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. Right? You cannot lose. If you lose 4 games, it's over. Right? You're not making a bowl game. Right? And I think right now we don't need to be talking about Big 12 title contention. I don't think we need to be talking about the playoff. We need to talk about bowl game stuff, right? Because you can't get to those other things before you get bowl game eligible. And right now, Colorado does not look like they're bowl game eligible, right? They need guys to step up. Whether that means coaches need to bench guys, whether that means coaches need to sort of stop playing favorites and be like, you know what, we really like this guy. I think it's he'll figure it out. Like whatever needs to be done needs to be done, because at this point, the season is probably another loss away from free falling, especially if you get blown out by TCU, because then you play Iowa State, who's undefeated and probably the best team in the Big 12 right now, them and Texas Tech. And like you just can't do that, right? This season could quickly get out of hand, because say you lose to TCU, then you play Iowa State. They're a ranked team. They're probably projected to beat you by, I don't know, 15 points. 17 points, right? Like ESPN's FPI only gives Colorado 63% chance. Utah's finding it again. Arizona is decent. They're not as bad as we thought they were. They're decent. West Virginia is terrible. That is the one game on this schedule where it's like, that is the game Colorado should win, right? All of the rest of these games, they have to come to bat. Like they are going to be underdogs in every game except that West Virginia game. They are going to be doubted in every game except for that West Virginia game. And depending on how Colorado plays the next few weeks, they might not be favored against that West Virginia team. So if the moment's too big right now, figure out a way to get more confident, or figure out a way to put the right people in, because you should not come to Colorado and play for Deion Sanders if you are scared of the moment. That's just not how it works. When we come back, Shedeur Sanders is under fire again. Let's talk about it. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Quo. If you haven't heard of Quo, you probably have. They're just got a new little redesign, new name. One of the tools that helps make a huge difference for business owners, Quo, formerly known as OpenPhone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer counts, conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the number one business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works through an app on your phone or your computer, so no more carrying 2 phones or relying on a landline. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo from formerly known as OpenPhone. Get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. It's QUO.com/lockedoncollege. And if you got existing numbers with the service, Quo will port them over with no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. This episode of Locked On Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. NFL season's here, and you need to get in on the action right now. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down 5, and if it hits, $5 that is, and if it hits, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Let's talk some Shedeur Sanders. First of all, thank you guys for making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Shedeur Sanders is under fire again because he's confident in himself, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's Shedeur Sanders earlier last week, I guess you could say, said that he's ready to play. I mean, he looked around the league and said, hey, like I'm better than some of these quarterbacks and I'm ready to play, blah, blah, blah. And everyone's sort of like, why are you talking? You're the third string quarterback. And if I'm Shedeur Sanders, I have to understand that everything I say is going to be blown up into the biggest of proportions, because it's like, okay, son of Deion Sanders thinks he's too good to be a backup, right? And it's like, why wouldn't you want that confidence from him? Now, Rex Ryan had a pretty spicy take today that he's good enough, he's just not doing the right things. And obviously that's between Shedeur and the coaches. Joe Flacco is playing like a 50-year-old quarterback, which, I mean, granted, he is like 50 years old. He's like 40 something, but either way, the Browns are invested in Dylan Gabriel, right? Shedeur Sanders just needs to be ready. I think if I was Shedeur Sanders and I was asked questions about playing, I would simply just say, I'm preparing my best every day. waiting for my opportunity, right? I wouldn't say anything else, right? Because I think the hard part about Shedeur is everything he says is going to get analyzed, overanalyzed, broken down, torn apart. And it's like nothing he says is going to be right. But it's like when you're playing 2K, or I think Madden probably doesn't now, where like they have the coach responses. Like just pick the generic, like, hey, like, I'll be ready when my name is called. If my name is called right now, I'm focused on helping the scout team, right? He talked about the scout team and how important it was to him last week. But of course, we're talking about like, hey, this guy thinks he's ready to play. And we hate that, right? Shedeur Sanders has every right to be confident, right? He thought he was, I think he was a first round caliber quarterback. Obviously, things happened, but I think for Shedeur, you just got to be ready. And I would probably avoid being like overly confident, I guess, or just pretend like you are just undrafted, I guess. Like I don't want to say don't be yourself because I hate that, but it's like the way the media treats him, the way fans treat him, it's almost like he should just be like, okay, yeah, I'll be ready. Like be very simple, short, because I think people are waiting for him to say something wrong so that way they could blow it up. And that's what happened, right? Because I didn't think what he said was wrong at all. I think people want to make it wrong because it's like, oh, not a team player, right? He thinks he's better than everyone. But it's like, okay, if you asked him if he thinks he's ready to play, would you rather him say, no, I'm not ready. I think I have room to grow and I'm just not ready yet. I would just say I'm waiting for my opportunity whenever the coaches feel that's right, like blah, blah, blah. I think it's unfortunate that he sort of has gone through this entire situation. I do think he'll get a chance eventually because the Browns don't look good and you're always one play away. But I think it's tough to be Shedeur Sanders because we know the drill, right? We saw it at Colorado and we're seeing it again. So I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, making Locked On Buffs your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And I'll see y'all tomorrow.